On this episode of Law Weekly, we bring you some of the highlights from the maiden edition of the Nigerian Bar Association Women Forum Advocacy Committee's Inspire series, Lessons from the Legal Amazon, Mrs. Hirat Balogun, OON. The objective of the session is to empower female lawyers and women in general by identifying and providing innovative solutions to key issues that affect them, such as gender pay gap, sexual harassment in the workplace, violence against women, gender parity and balance in the legal and non-legal industries, and much more. And that's the emphasis which the chairperson, Professor Oluyemisi Bamboshe, makes in her opening remarks.
Female lawyers' voices are heard and rights defended. Diverse skills are developed. There are huge opportunities for career growth. There is access to data on female lawyers in Nigeria and support against discrimination, abuse, and harassment. I'm happy to inform all participants that the MBAWF has commenced the drafting of the sexual harassment policy, and it is believed that after so many years, the MBA will finally have a sexual harassment policy, thereby providing and creating a safe, healthy, respectful, and comfortable work environment, therefore reducing physical and emotional harm to many of our female lawyers.
The Advocacy Committee, under the leadership of Mrs. Folashade Ali, is one of the committees through which the section operates, and it is responsible for developing initiatives that help to amplify female voices on relevant issues.
I believe that one of the ways in which the Advocacy Committee can achieve its objectives is by providing a platform such as this, where accomplished female legal practitioners can share their knowledge, inspire the next generation of female lawyers, and encouraging us to aim for greater achievement in our career, and also inspiring us to take our rightful place in national development. I cannot overemphasize the importance of showcasing women who have not only broken the glass ceilings, but actually shattered it in a previously male-dominated legal profession that we have.
The first in the series came up on Wednesday, the 23rd of June, and it featured the amazing and graceful Hirat Balogun, a woman of many firsts. Meet Mrs. Hirat Adebalogun, the founder and currently the senior partner in Liberal Law Office, Lagos, Nigeria. She qualified as a barrister at law in 1963 in the United Kingdom, having been called to the English bar in February of the same year. She attended the Nigerian Law School, was enrolled as a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria in July of the same 1963. A legal practitioner, a notary public, a life bencher and recipient of the National Honor of OON, Office of the Order of the Niger in 2008 for services to the legal profession, Mrs. Balogun specializes in commercial law, litigation and arbitration. With a career spanning about 58 years, this Amazon is still in active legal practice. Mrs. Balogun is the first ever female General Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, a former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Lagos State, a former chairman of the Body of Benchers, and a woman of many parts. She's authored 2 books, the first, Women in the Law, and the second, To Serve in Truth and Justice, which is a collection of her memoirs. In this first Inspire series, Lessons from the Legal Amazon, anchored by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Boma Alabi, Channels Television's judiciary correspondent Shola Sheele, and Hawa Sani, over 300 women logged online from different locations. And Mrs. Hirat Adebalogun shares with them a bit of her journey, experiences, and how she's been able to break barriers and shatter glass ceilings.
It's really an honor to be interviewing a legal icon like you. Your name resounds both within and outside the legal profession. You have distinguished yourself as one of the foremost female practitioners in Nigeria to the admiration of all of us. We are very eager to know a lot more about you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and educational background pre-entry into the profession?
I decided to be a lawyer mostly because I wanted to offer service. My main intention was service and also to dignify whatever profession I chose. It happened to be the legal profession. It was an accident. I had been away for about 6 years studying abroad, my secondary education, and came home for the holidays, visited a court in Yaba, and I saw the way lawyers were disposing of cases, just like that, maybe there were small cases, but cases nevertheless, making people anxious. They were getting judgment immediately. So even if the people were found guilty, hand down the judgments, go and pay fine and so on. Or it's a landlord and tenant, leave that house in a month's time and so on. So I said, oh, this would be a nice profession to be in. You can help people and you see the results immediately. How do we do this? Before that, my parents, or rather my grandmother who brought me up, had tried to encourage me to be a lawyer, a teacher. She even promised she would build me a school and so on and so forth, but that wasn't to be. Now to background education. I was one of 30 children at the first count. My father was a produce buyer, very prosperous trader, I would call him, in Lagos here. And my mother was a baker and confectioner. But they did not really have too much influence on my youth, my growing up, because at the age of 10 days, I was born here in Lagos, in Idumagbo, in a nursing home in Idumagbo. And my grandmother just looked at my mother and said, you are too young. You can have so many more children. I am taking this one. I'm taking her back to Ijebu with me. She's going to live with me. And that's how I became a grandmother's child. And I tell you, I was spoiled to bits. But that did not stop the spirit in me to also be somebody. I was spoiled, but I still wanted to accept myself.
Mrs. Harad Balogun went on to recount how she left for the UK at the age of 12 for her secondary education and then her law studies, after which she returned to Nigeria. She also talked about how she missed narrowly working for a foreign law firm, but subsequently went on to practice at the law firm of Chris Ogunbanjo.
I found myself walking all over Lagos through the broad streets, and I saw nameplates of lawyers. And the one that attracted me most was a brass plate of CEO Ogunbanjo. So I went in and I said, oh, I'd like to see the owner of this firm. And I spoke to him and I said, I would like to come and work with him. And he said, okay. And that's how the association started. He told me right away that he was going into commercial practice, that he wasn't going to do so much court work anymore. I was a little bit disappointed, but he said, oh, I have some 2 or 3 lawyers who come and do my trial matters, court cases. You just hold on to them. Anytime they're going to court, go with them, get your experience that way, and then you are made. So that's how I got the practical aspect worked out.
She speaks more on some of the attributes and values that she holds there and which she credits for her rise.
One should always have an admiration for whatever you decide to do, because it's only that will make you rise up in that particular field. You must be totally committed and admirable of your profession. Also, I have to admit that whatever confidence I have or feel or have obtained has been a gift from the legal profession. That confidence is really what keeps you going. It's what keeps you wanting to achieve. You feel that nobody can stop you. You must build up your integrity. When you build up integrity for yourself, people know you are serious, they take you like that. As I said at the beginning, my aim was to serve and also dignify my profession. So service, of course, you'll say, don't you get paid for all the cases and so on? Yes, I was getting paid, but not too much, very little, but it was just enough. And you'd be amazed. I used to quarrel with my senior, about my monthly salary. I'll say, oh, this money is too small. He'll say, go to the ministry and find out how much they're earning. I'll tell him, he'll say, it doesn't matter. This is private practice, Well, I was learning a lot.
She also talks about how she juggled family life with her career.
I got married a few months before I returned to Nigeria, but I didn't start a family till the following year. When the children were old enough to go to school, I had to bring them on board. Nobody took my children to school except me. I dropped them, I picked them up, take them home, back to work, finish the day, back home. That was the schedule because I wanted to be sure it was child to mother, mother to child. Nobody, of course, we had house help at that time, reliable ones, can have an elderly person and so on. So all these things help to enhance service delivery, let me call it that. I never for one moment wanted to be a judge. I never for one moment wanted to be a magistrate. I was asked 2 or 3 times, but I said, no, it will restrict my idea of service. So, but here we are today. I'm afraid I feel like a roller coaster. I can't stop unless somebody switches off the engine.
Mrs. Harad Balogun believes that the country has many hardworking female lawyers and women of integrity. She wants government at all levels to give more women a chance in leadership positions.
In 2009, I did a study of women lawyers and where they are, where they should be, what they could be doing. We took it through the states, went to Kaduna, went to Asapa, all over, just to get all the lawyers to take part and put them on the map and to let the government, the powers that be, know that we have women who can do these jobs. They're not just for ministry and so on. So, but I was very distressed when I saw or heard of the announcement that a male has been appointed the secretary of EFCC. I said, you see, there we go. A woman should be the secretary, board secretary of EFCC. If a man is chair, I believe only 2 hands, both hands together, can build a house. You can't build a house with 1 hand. So women lawyers, women forum, that's one battle we have to fight.
Our advice for young female lawyers, and indeed all women, is to empower themselves so they can offer service and good leadership.
You have to prepare for those kind of opportunities. And those are the things that stand you out. People can call on you and you have to, I wouldn't say it's onerous or burdensome, but this is what is expected of women. You have to make your stand. When you go and talk about activities in the NBA, I went in on purpose, not to be a secretary, but to be part of it. I speak at the meeting, they say something, I just put my hand, excuse me. Sometimes they laugh, sometimes they agree, but it didn't put me off because I don't think a woman lawyer is any less a lawyer than a male lawyer. On the contrary, I think we're better than them. We have more patience to deal with problems and things. It's inborn.
2 hours was not nearly enough to learn from the legal Amazon. She addressed issues of insecurity in the country, constitution amendment, appointment of judges, and so much more. And in subsequent episodes of the program, we'll share with you her views on some of these very topical issues.
For the government, the central government.
Welcome back.
Just not a matter of he was told, is a matter of record, and he goes by the record.
We turn our attention now to the Lagos State Judicial Panel. The past few weeks have seen testimonies from the Lagos State Head of Service, Akeem Muri-Okunla, a consultant pathologist to the Lagos State government, Professor John Obafunwa, and some young people who actively participated in the End SARS protests.
The panel, which initially commenced sitting on October the 26, 2020, was given a tenure of 6 months in the first instance. The deadline then was put at April the 19th, but by the end of March, and with barely 3 weeks to its initial deadline, it became evident that the panel would need additional time. An infographic obtained by Law Weekly from the secretariat of the panel at the time showed that March the 30th, the panel had sat for 65 days, during which time it partly heard 112 cases out of the 235 cases it received overall. 123 cases remain unheard. The panel sought a 6-month extension from the state government, but got 3 months extension. This took its new deadline from the initial April 19 date to a new deadline fixed for July the 19th. It's now barely 3 weeks to the new deadline. Law Weekly again obtained infographics from the panel to know how far it had gone with its mandate. A breakdown of the 235 petitions the panel received shows that 74 were related to extrajudicial and unlawful killings, 51 petitions relating to extortions, and 44 petitions related to arrest, unlawful detention, and torture. The panel received 27 petitions relating to assaults occasioning harm, 15 petitions of unlawful arrest leading to gunshot, 14 petitions of victims of Lekki Tollgate gunshot wounds, and another 4 petitions of victims missing in custody. As of June the 29th, the infographics show that the panel had sat for 97 days, during which time it heard 126 cases, with 89 petitions being partly heard and 37 having been concluded, with rulings and recommendations made. 109 cases still remain unheard. A further breakdown shows that 42 petitions already have judgments, 20 cases have been adopted and reserved for judgment, recommendation and award. 17 cases have been struck out for lack of diligent prosecution, cases withdrawn, and another 2 adjourned indefinitely. Compensation has been awarded to 25 cases, with the panel handing out checks totaling 151,250,000 naira to deserving petitioners.
And just before we go, a quick recap of some of the legal stories that hogged the headlines recently.
We begin with the report that the Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed September the 20th for judgment in a suit by former Abia State Governor Senator Orji Uzor Kalu seeking to stop his retrial in an alleged 7.1 billion naira fraud. The presiding judge, Justice Inyang Ekwo, fixed the date after Senator Kalu and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission adopted all processes filed for and against the suit. The former governor, who is now a senator representing Abia North Senatorial District, is seeking to stop his retrial in the 7.1 billion naira money laundering charges on the ground that he has been tried, convicted and imprisoned. In another development, the federal government has rearranged the self-acclaimed leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, before another judge of the same Federal High Court in Abuja. Though journalists were prevented from entering the court, we gathered that the federal government is here to ask for the accelerated hearing of his case and also to get an order to detain the accused in a DSS facility for security reasons. Justice Binta Nyako granted the application and Kanu was immediately moved to a DSS detention facility in Abuja. He will be rearraigned in court on July the 26th and 27th as against the initial adjournment date of October the 20th. The court hearing came hours after the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami, announced his arrest. Nnamdi Kanu had fled the country after he was granted bail in April 2017 on health grounds. He was facing an 11-count charge of terrorism, treasonable felony, illegal possession of firearms, and publication of defamatory publications. In Kaduna State, a high court has set aside July the 28th to rule on the no-case submission filed by the embattled leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, and his wife Zinat, challenging the charges leveled against them by the Kaduna State government. El-Zakzaky and his wife are standing trial on an 8-count charge bordering on alleged culpable homicide, unlawful assembly, and disruption of public peace, among others. At the resumed hearing of the trial on Thursday, their counsel, Femi Falana, a senior advocate, asked the court to dismiss the charges leveled against them as no criminal case had so far been established against the defendants by the Kaduna State government. The prosecuting counsel, Darius Bayero, however, opposed the submission and insisted that the defendants have a case to answer. He then asked the court to overrule the no-case submission and convict the defendants as provided by law. The arraignment of the 8 suspects arrested in connection with the rape and murder of a 300-level University of Ilorin undergraduate, Blessing Olajide, failed to go on at the Kwara State High Court, Ilorin, owing to a lack of legal representation for 3 of the defendants. Blessing was allegedly raped and murdered at her residence along the University Road, Ilorin. Some valuable items were also carted away from the residence. The suspects who allegedly carried out the dastardly act were later arrested by operatives of the Department of State Security and are currently facing charges before Justice Ibrahim Yusuf. Outside of the courtrooms, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Mohammed, has sworn in 18 justices to the Court of Appeal. At the swearing-in ceremony, the CJN appealed to the newly sworn-in justices to avoid accepting juicy gifts and to keep their head above murky waters while discharging their judicial functions. He reminded them that their reputation matters in their rise to honor and fame. He also advised the justices to redouble their efforts so they can deal with the caseload coming their way. In Lagos, the state government has handed over the keys to the newly constructed Osborne Courthouse to the state's Chief Judge, Justice Kazim Alugba. The one-story courthouse at Osborne in Ikoyi is to serve as a temporary replacement for the Lagos High Court Igboshere, which was burnt during the NSAS protests of October 2020. The waterfront facility consists of 8 courtrooms, 8 judges' chambers, offices for secretaries and registrars, a general office for administrative staff, a canteen, a litigants' room, an office for the CJ, and restrooms on every floor. The Attorney General, a senior advocate of Nigeria, Moyosoro Onigbanjo, said that the building of the courthouse was part of the efforts of the Lagos state government to restore the state's justice system after the losses suffered during the NSAS protests. And we round off on the foreign scene, where South Africa's Apex Court has sentenced former President Jacob Zuma to 15 months in jail for contempt of court. Mr. Zuma had repeatedly defied court orders to appear before the Commission of Inquiry looking into state capture because he believes his personal relationship with the chairman of the Commission, Deputy Chief Justice, would make room for conflict of interest. He had demanded that Justice Zondo recuse himself before he would resume cooperation with the inquiry. But Justice Sisi Kampepe of the Constitutional Court found him guilty of contempt of court and then ordered Mr. Jacob Zuma to hand himself to the police within 5 days to begin his 15-month custodial sentence with immediate effect.
And that's our program this week. Don't forget that you can find these and past episodes of the program on our YouTube page. I'm Shola Shayele. Thank you for watching and see you next week.